The first living AI chip is here, and it's already challenging the role of traditional GPUs. A startup called Biological Black Box has unveiled BioNode, an AI processor built from lab-grown neurons designed to perform tasks like computer vision and language processing, while using a fraction of the energy GPUs require. In this video, we'll break down how this biological chip actually works, why major players like NVIDIA are paying attention, and what it means for the future of AI hardware. Why GPUs are breaking down. Over the past decade, GPUs, especially those from companies like NVIDIA and AMD, have become essential to artificial intelligence. They're used to train and run large language models, generate deepfake videos, power autonomous vehicles, and more. But as AI models have grown more complex, the hardware that runs them is being pushed to its limits. In 2023 alone, NVIDIA's data center revenue, largely driven by AI chips, surged past $47.5 billion. But the global energy costs for AI workloads have skyrocketed alongside. Training a single large language model can consume energy equivalent to the lifetime emissions of several cars. According to a 2022 study by Hugging Face and Carnegie Mellon University, Training Bloom, an open-source LLM with 176 billion parameters, generated nearly 50 metric tons of CO2. GPUs are powerful, but they're expensive to produce. They draw massive amounts of electricity, and they're not optimized for adaptability. They process tasks linearly and need to be retrained frequently to deal with new data. That's a growing concern as AI gets integrated into more industries, where real-time learning is crucial. This has led researchers and startups alike to explore alternative forms of computation: quantum, neuromorphic, optical, and now biological. Introducing BBB and the BioNode. This is where BBB enters the picture. The company was founded in Baltimore and quietly developed its biological computing platform over the past few years. In March 2025, they publicly launched BioNode, a new kind of AI processor built with lab-grown living neurons. According to VentureBeat, BBB uses stem cells derived from humans and rats to grow these neurons in a lab. They are then integrated into a dish containing 4,096 electrodes, forming what the company describes as a living chip. At the core of the idea is one of biology's fundamental strengths: plasticity. Neurons naturally rewire themselves in response to new stimuli. Unlike transistors in a silicon chip, which are fixed and rigid, neurons adapt on the fly. BBB is leveraging this trait to develop a system that can learn and process information in ways current GPUs can't. According to BBB's co-founder and CEO, Alex Ksenzovsky, we don't see ourselves as replacing GPUs, we're augmenting them. BBB is part of NVIDIA's Inception program, a startup accelerator that supports companies working on cutting-edge AI solutions. That gives them access to NVIDIA's ecosystem and tools, allowing for a hybrid approach where biological and silicon-based components work together. BBB has not revealed the full list of its partners, but it confirmed it is already in talks with companies using BioNode for computer vision applications and language model optimization. How the living chip actually works. Let's take a closer look at how this works. BBB's BioNode chip combines biological neurons with electrode arrays that allow for two-way communication between the neurons and digital systems. The neurons are cultured in lab conditions and form functional networks capable of processing input and generating output. When data is sent to the chip, for example, an image in a computer vision task, it's encoded into electrical signals that the neurons can respond to. These neurons then process the signal in parallel, adapting as they go. The output is captured by the electrode array and decoded back into digital information. This dynamic system enables two critical advantages: continuous learning and ultra-low energy use. Where GPUs require frequent retraining and high computational costs to update a model, neurons in the BioNode can adapt without retraining. According to BBB, this could lead to a major reduction in AI training costs and power consumption. The neurons also live for over a year in these setups, making them surprisingly stable for long-term use. It's important to clarify. This isn't a conscious brain or a general intelligence system. BBB is not simulating a human brain. Instead, they're creating task-specific networks using just enough neurons to handle certain types of AI functions. Think of it as a minimalist, biological coprocessor built for efficiency, real-world performance and use cases. According to BBB, the BioNode has already been tested in real AI workloads. One of its main applications is in computer vision, where the BioNode acts as a pre-processing layer before GPU inference. In this setup, neurons process and filter incoming image data, reducing the burden on the GPU. The result, faster inference times, lower power consumption, and in some cases, higher classification accuracy. Another application is in the training of large language models. One of the biggest challenges with LLMs today is that retraining or fine-tuning them is energy-intensive and time-consuming. BBB claims that its biological networks can assist in this process by providing a continuously learning layer that doesn't need to be retrained every time new data arrives. This could help developers reduce the time and compute resources required to update AI models. For example, when integrated with standard silicon systems, the BioNode can learn from new data while the main model remains static, creating a dynamic update layer. This approach has potential to transform industries like healthcare, where real-time adaptation to new inputs is essential, or robotics, where edge devices need to learn on the fly without relying on massive cloud-based GPUs. So far, all of these results are coming from internal tests and pilot projects with undisclosed partners. While independent verification is still limited, the claims have drawn attention from both the tech and research communities, especially those focused on neuromorphic computing and biological AI. BBB's vision and NVIDIA's involvement. Biological black box isn't positioning itself as a competitor to companies like NVIDIA. In fact, the opposite is true. BBB is currently part of the NVIDIA Inception program, which supports startups developing advanced AI, data science, and machine learning technologies. This affiliation places BBB inside NVIDIA's ecosystem, allowing it to collaborate rather than compete. According to CEO Alex Ksenzovsky, we're not replacing GPUs yet, we're augmenting them. The company's approach isn't about abandoning silicon, but rather integrating new forms of computing to handle tasks that traditional chips weren't designed for. The idea is to move toward a modular hardware ecosystem where different types of processors work together, each playing to their strengths. In this vision, biological chips like BioNode would manage learning and adaptation, while GPUs and CPUs handle bulk data processing. Quantum computing, still in early stages of practical deployment, would eventually take on complex simulations that require massive parallelization. To scale this vision, BBB is relocating from Baltimore, Maryland to the Bay Area, aligning itself with the global center of AI and biotech innovation. This move is part of their larger strategy to commercialize BioNode and integrate it into enterprise systems, where energy efficiency and continuous learning are critical. While the company hasn't given a specific timeline for broader deployment, it is actively engaging with new partners and expanding its technical team to support long-term development. Why this is a massive leap for AI? The introduction of a living AI chip represents more than just a novel invention. It challenges the foundational assumptions of modern computing. As AI models continue to grow in size and complexity, current hardware architectures are showing clear signs of strain. GPUs, although powerful, are inherently resource-intensive and not optimized for continuous, real-time learning. This is where biological systems signal a major shift. BioNode's self-rewiring neurons bring a level of adaptability that traditional chips can't match without retraining. Rather than freezing a model and starting from scratch when new data arrives, BioNode enables networks to evolve while in operation. This unlocks three core advantages: real-time learning from live inputs, significant energy savings due to the low power demands of neurons, and faster deployment without the need to reset or retrain entire systems. Beyond these gains in performance and efficiency, BioNode represents a step toward neuromorphic computing, an area focused on designing machines that process information more like biological brains. Companies like Intel and IBM have already developed chips like Loihi and True North that simulate aspects of neuron behavior. BBB, however, is taking this further by incorporating real biological neurons into the computing process, rather than relying solely on simulations. This opens the door to a new category of AI hardware that isn't just inspired by intelligence but built from the same components that power it in nature. It suggests a future where computation is not limited to code and silicon, but also involves living systems. While the long-term impact of this technology remains to be seen, it's clear that BBB's BioNode challenges the current architecture of machine intelligence, and potentially how machines evolve over time. Ethical and practical challenges. Whenever living tissue is involved in computing, questions of ethics and responsibility inevitably follow. BBB has acknowledged these concerns publicly and has taken steps to address them. First, the company is working closely with ethicists and regulatory experts to guide its research and development practices. From the beginning, BBB has emphasized that BioNode is not attempting to replicate or simulate full human consciousness. The neurons used are organized into task-specific networks. They are not connected to form generalized cognitive structures. Their function is limited to processing structured input, like images or text, and outputting classification or learned responses. This is a far cry from a sentient or self-aware system. Still, the use of living tissue, even in controlled ethical lab conditions, raises larger debates. As biological computing becomes more advanced, regulators and developers will need to confront where the boundaries are drawn. If machines are built from living cells, how should they be treated? What rights, if any, apply to lab-grown neural systems? At this point, the systems BBB is building are strictly utilitarian, but the questions they raise will likely become more pressing as this class of hardware moves forward.